Geek Climber. Welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for doing this.
How are you, man?
Good. As we just talked about off camera, it is early morning for me right now, late night for you. You're from California, right?
California, yes.
Yeah, I live in Denmark, so there's a 9-hour difference between us. It's 6:15 for me and 9:15 for you, right? PM.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that technology allows us to do this. It's so cool to be able to talk to people from across the world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Can you briefly, for people who might not know who you are, introduce yourself, what you do?
Yeah, so I make YouTube videos about climbing and also calisthenics. So I've been on YouTube for 6 years. So I started to make videos around like 2017. Yeah, so I've been around for a while. So if you are interested in rock climbing or calisthenics, you might have came across my video at some point. But if you're just getting into rock climbing or calisthenics, hey, feel free to check out my videos.
Yeah, your videos are awesome. I was recommended by Frink's Movement, my friend Eric, and I loved your content. The idea of the average guy learning something like really difficult, like the handstand and those like muscle ups, it's such a cool concept.
Yeah, I think when I first started YouTube, I tried a bunch of different ideas. I tried even like street interviews and then skits and then, a bunch of different stuff. And then none of them actually works. But then eventually I figured out what people like to watch about me is like me training for something and then, eventually make progress and learn a particular move. So I kind of find my niche there. So I kind of hone in on that and then go all in. But it's a tough journey because, learning skills is hard.
Yeah.
And skills only gets harder and harder over time. So, but I'm pretty happy with what I've achieved throughout the years.
Okay, really quickly, I'm super sorry to interrupt this episode with Geek Climber. I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you have not already, can you please hit that subscribe button? It helps out the podcast so much more than you realize, and it is almost effortless for you. It doesn't hurt or anything. I've tried it before. I promise you. It's completely painless. I promise. Hit the subscribe button. Helps out a ton. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Yeah, I could imagine for your type of videos, it's not just the making of the video itself that's hard. It's also all the things that goes into actually learning the skill. That's taken a long time as well.
Yeah, totally. Like sometimes, I wish I could have, just like some other YouTubers, you just go out there and then you showcase some move or do some challenges with like random strangers and you get a bunch of views. I attempted that before, but it doesn't work really well. But learning skill itself is fulfilling. It's documenting a process, and then there are also a lot of people telling me that say, hey, I started rock climbing because of you. Hey, I learned the muscle up because of you. And then, that's really, really meaningful. That I would not exchange like that for, let's say, 10x amount of views. I feel like that's like very valuable. Yeah.
Is that why you wanted to start YouTube, to provide some sort of value to people?
Yeah. So when I first started YouTube, the motivation is kind of might be a little bit funny. So it's to practice my English because if you might be able to tell that I'm not a native English speaker, right? And then I think YouTube is a great thing because you can actually record yourself saying the same 10 times and then pick the best one and put it out there. So it's a lot more easier comparing to, let's say, you're going out and meet new people, and then you gotta make sure you don't stutter, you don't fumble your words. But on YouTube, you can actually, fumble as many times as you want and then pick the best one and put it out there. So I think that was the original motivation. But then obviously, eventually, I feel like, my English got better over time. And also, this channel becomes something different that I wasn't able to imagine when I first started. So basically, it becomes a very meaningful thing. A lot of people learn from me. Again, like I said, hey, I started rock climbing because of you. I learned the muscle up because of you. I was like, man, I gotta continue.
Yeah.
It's a really meaningful thing.
That's so cool, man. I'm also not a native English speaker. In Denmark, we speak Danish, and
Mhm,
I learned most of my English from video games. I used to play video games and talk to like people from the UK or the US through Skype when we played
mhm.
Minecraft all night, and that's how my English developed actually. So it's really cool to have these alternative and maybe more natural ways to teach yourself things rather than going to an English class, for example.
Yeah, totally. So especially making YouTube videos, it's not like following a textbook, right? You actually have to think about how you are going to plan the video and what you're going to say, and then actually try to memorize the lines and then try to perfect it. So it's a lot different comparing to say, back in the days when I was learning English at school. And I think doing YouTube is, because there's a purpose, right? And it's
Yeah,
not just like, hey, I want to pass the exam. So it definitely you learn that faster. So yeah, so that was really helpful for me. Yeah.
that's so cool. I love talking about different ways to educate yourself. What do you think is the best way that you've found to learn things? Is it reading? Is it YouTube videos? Is it documentaries?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I think first of all, you want to figure out like why you want to learn this thing, because once you figure out that purpose, how to learn it is easy, right? There are so many information out there. There are videos, like you said. There's also books that you can read, so you can just pick one of the medium that works best for you. But I think what's hard is like finding the why. Like, well, why do you
Mm,
want to learn these stuff? Like for example, I think a lot of people who don't work out, they'll be like, why do I want to spend my effort to learn a muscle? Right? I mean, it's just, it's not going to make me a better earner at my full-time job. I mean, it's not going to make me score higher exams and go to better college. I mean, it's just kind of um, like we basically got to figure out why. So that why can be really, I guess, like it can be as shallow, as
mm,
you want. It can be say, hey, I actually want to do a muscle up and showcase it on social media, or it can be say, hey, I want to be able to work out with my friends. Even it can be that kind of like reason. But
yeah.
then you just really gotta find your reason, and then you know what the results will bring you, and then you will go for it. Because I think a lot of people also say that, hey, you gotta enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But then if it's that easy to enjoy the process, then everyone will be a pro
Yeah.
already, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing that is like blocking people from becoming a pro is never the the resources for learning, because there are so many information out there for free online. So it's always the grinding part, right?
Mm,
So I think enjoying the process is hard, to be honest. And then if you can enjoy the process, hey, congratulations. But if you can't, then you have to be like me. Gotta think about what would the results bring you, and
mm,
then be clear about that, and then
yeah.
work towards that. And once you got the results and you achieve what you want to have in mind, then then you're happy, right? So there's a positive feedback, and you could go over again. Yeah.
So what was your why for, or is your why for learning all these crazy calisthenic skills?
Yeah, so my why is actually YouTube,
Okay.
initially, but then now I kind of have a different reason. So now I do it to the second reason is to feel young,
Yeah.
because when I'm in my 20s, just you work out. I mean, you your body, you feel good. You kind of take it for granted. But when you're at your 30s, things kind of go downhill a little bit, and then you have a lot of responsibilities in terms of family and life in
Mm,
general. And then but then you're still being able to do those moves where normally only you see young guys do, and it make you feel young.
mm,
So I think that's my second motivation that I found. that's for me. So yeah, so YouTube and then feeling young.
That's cool.
Is my
Yeah.
motivation.
When is the average peak for male physical performance? Do you know?
I think maybe like early 30s. I guess if you look at the pro basketball players or even like pro football players, I think they peak around like I think early 30s or maybe even like late 20s ish. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. If okay, so I am a calisthenics athlete. I've been training calisthenics for about 7-ish years.
Hmm.
I've always looked at rock climbing and been like, I'm scared of that. But I've always found it intriguing and wanted to try it. How
Hmm.
does someone like me get started with rock climbing?
I think just going to the gym and climb because you have all the strength that you build up from calisthenics, so it won't be difficult for you. But I think what might happen is because you have that so much strength build up, you might tend to use your arms more when you don't have to. So rock climbing is about trying to make every move as simple as efficient as possible, even though when that means utilizing momentum. I know in calisthenics we don't like momentum, but then in rock
Mm,
climbing we do utilize that because momentum does make things easier.
okay.
So I think that's kind of like the fundamental difference, like meaning let's say casting, you're purposely making it hard, right? So when
Yeah.
you do a muscle up, it's easier to do it with momentum, but you are forcing your body to make it hard, to
Yeah.
do it straight, to make it look beautiful, right? So it's a totally different concept. But for rock climbing is, hey, if you touch the final hold, no matter how you get there, if you touch it, you send it,
Yeah.
right? Even though if you do it super slow, if you do it with momentum, it's people view it as the same
Oh, okay. Interesting.
same thing. And then people might even view the one with a momentum one because they're doing it more efficient. That means you have better technique, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so that's kind of the fundamental difference. But like for you, hey, I'll say just find the gym and go climb, and then the finger strength might take a little bit of time to build up, but because you have a strong base in calisthenics, I think you will improve really fast.
And for someone who's a complete beginner who has never worked out before, do you do some sort of beginner exercises? Maybe you would you recommend doing maybe pull-ups, learning that first before starting rock climbing?
No, you still go to the gym, just go because there
Okay.
are different levels. For beginners, the hose is going to be bigger, both hand holds and foot holds, and then the walls wouldn't be as steep. So, like for the super easy ones, it would be like climbing a ladder. So there are routes kind of suitable for all levels. But obviously, for you, you can skip that. You can go right into the overhang area, maybe grabbing some medium hose and then start from there. Yeah, so I think for beginners, hey, this is going to the gym and then climb.
Okay, so it's like don't overthink it, just get going, get started, try it out.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good advice. I think that's how it is for probably most things. In like anything you want to learn, just try it, get
Mhm.
started.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Have you experienced that improving or learning all these calisthenic skills have improved your rock climbing?
Yeah. So I would really love to answer yes, but unfortunately, I never get to experience that now because I injured my fingers a few times. So before I started calisthenics, when I climb, the bottleneck, sometimes it's the finger strength, sometimes it's my general pull strength. It really depends on what the route is. But then, when I do calisthenics, my general pull strength becomes stronger. But when I injure my finger strength become weaker.
Mm,
So from a certain point on, when I climb, the bottleneck is always the finger strength for me. But I would kind of imagine if I never injure my fingers, so my finger strength is still progressing and never regress. And then with the add-on general pull strength that I got from calisthenics, that would have probably multiplied and then kind of catapult me to a
mm.
very high level. But you can't. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah.
Did you injure your fingers from rock climbing or trying to learn calisthenics?
far from rock climbing. So I never really got like seriously injured from calisthenics, fortunately. Maybe because calisthenics is after all, it's still using the bigger muscles, right? Lats and the arms, so it's still relatively strong. But whereas fingers is like you're holding yourself with with very little like
Mm,
tendon strength over there, and then if you kind of push yourself too hard, bad things happen. And then for me, because I have the motivation of YouTube, I did a kind of progression video on rock climbing, get a ton of views. So I was like, hey, I want to replicate that
hmm.
success, and I kind of push myself too hard, and then snap my fingers, unfortunately. You know.
Do you think that so I remember you talking about, and that's something I really appreciate about your content, is that it's very authentic. Like you, I remember, I think, was it the bent bent arm handstand press that took 700 or something days?
Yes.
That it's very authentic, and I wanted to ask you if you think that people on YouTube that do similar things fake it to get more views, because a shorter amount of time does sound better in a title on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I do know people who kind of fake the progression and get views and get sales. But I don't want to create any conflicts. I'm not going
Mm,
to name names here, but unfortunately, there are some people that's doing that. But me, I guess like for me, I have the luxury. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but basically, YouTube is not my full time job. So
mm,
I have a software full time job. So I guess I can afford to be authentic in a way. I don't have to chase views
mm,
because my income, my bread and rent is not depending on how YouTube performs. So I can afford to be authentic. And then you would kind of imagine, hey, people would prefer to watch authentic content, but that's not the case, right? People come onto YouTube and then they want to be entertained, and then so sometimes the kind of shocking and then exaggerating content get views, but that's just kind of the but since luxury to not worry about my finances, based on YouTube, so I pride myself for keeping it authentic.
yeah, it is super refreshing. I always love when people do that, keep it authentic on the internet, especially because it's so easy to fake stuff on the internet.
Mhm.
Was that the hardest skill to learn, the bent arm handstand so far?
Yeah, it is. Because if you look at the days alone, it is. And but then if you actually look at the overcoming gravity chart, it's actually just a level 5 skill, right? But my starting point for that is like super super low. Like I basically don't have a lot of strength. I basically start from zero. So um, when I learn all the muscle ups, like the pulling related stuff, I have like the rock climbing background that's backing me up. So that's why I was able to learn it relatively faster. But for the pushing, I was literally zero. Like I never did any push-ups, and then when I'm say coming to the U.S. and start rock climbing, I still kind of avoid doing push-ups because it's not useful for climbing, and then
Mm,
and then you know there just isn't a motivation to do it. So my push strength is pretty much like someone who never work out. So I think it took that long is not surprising. I could have made a video of like, hey, I learned to push up for 15 reps or 20 reps, and then, and then have a first like a pushing video first. But I feel like that's boring. Who wants to see someone push up for 15 reps, 20 reps? Right? So I want to be able to do at least like an iconic pushing move, and then put it out there. And then man, it takes
mm.
like almost 2 years. But I'm happy that I eventually learned that, and then finally I can say that I'm kind of a more complete and balanced calisthenics now.
Yeah.
The pulling focused.
But
scale six. Yeah.
there's
Uh,
also something admirable to see that it took so long, and
mhm,
it's inspirational, and maybe it also is even more valuable for people to see that it takes so long, because then they don't put false
mhm,
expectations in their head.
mhm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think um, I can imagine, let's say, if people who never rock climb and they saw my video about muscle ups, hey, I learned muscle up in 35 days, people might feel discouraged. I mean,
Mm.
I totally see that. So I think this is actually a good way to show case to people that if you're starting from complete zero, what is really going to take for you to learn a kind of a level five skill. So I think that was good learning experience for me, and I think people enjoyed that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I did. So
I appreciate it. Mhm.
walk me through some of the muscles that you use in rock climbing. It is primarily pull muscles, right? There's not a lot of pushing. What about core and legs? How are those utilized in rock climbing?
They're utilized too, but it's not. It's usually not the bottleneck. Let's say if you lack core strength, you gotta really have super bad core strength in order for that to be your bottleneck in climbing. And then for legs, um, it's more about are you able to kind of push in certain weird positions. Because if you're at a relatively kind of normal positions, I mean, the legs are usually not the bottleneck. Um, and also, you have to have the ability to stay on super tiny holds. So that's kind of a different type of strength that you need. Um, yeah, but rock climbing is still mostly about like finger strength and then also pulling.
Mm. What sort of accessory exercises can you do to improve rock climbing? Or is it you literally, as we talked about, don't overthink it and just go to the wall and climb?
Yeah, so I think for beginners, you definitely just go and climb. Um, but for intermediates, you might want to train because what happens is if you just go into the gym and climb, you will tend to pick the climbs that you feel comfortable with, and also pick the climbs that you're the type of routes that you're good at. So that would potentially hinder your progress. So you kind of need to force yourself to um, train a certain thing. So, for example, like hangboard, if your finger strength is weak, you should probably train on the hangboard. And if your pinch strength is weak, then train with a pinch block, that type of thing. Um, yeah, and then what else? I think yeah. So yeah, basically these type of off the wall training are the most common. So hangboard and then pinch block.
Okay. Is there I think there's also an element of fear in rock climbing for people, especially when you get up high and well, actually, do you start with like some sort of security ropes on you when you start out rock climbing, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there are two kinds of climbing. So one is you could climb with a rope and you go all the way up. So that's called sport climbing. And there's another type of climbing. It's called bouldering. So bouldering basically you don't climb too high, and then the routes are pretty short. But then the routes are going to be pretty hard and powerful. Whereas sport climbing is more about endurance, and you got to really be precise in your foot placement, and in order to be as efficient as possible and conserve a lot of energy. So when you are at the top, you still have enough strength to finish the route. So that's two different type of climbs. Um, yeah. So when I started with sport climbing, and then like I remember when I first climbed, I was using basically all my arms because
Mm,
I don't know how to use my legs and then position my body to be efficient. But eventually, the more you climb, and then there are so many YouTube videos out there, talking about techniques. When you watch them, and you eventually get better. Um, yeah.
Mm, yeah. I wonder what it is with physical challenge, especially for males. It seems like whatever time we're in, there always like in history, there's always some sort of sports throughout time and history, and there's always this desire to be very physically active and to learn to push your limits with your body. Has learning all these new skills, have you ever thought about that? Like you told me the why is YouTube primarily and to feel young.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, pushing my body to a limit. Okay, that's kind of a high level, kind of abstract idea, right? So, do I want to push my limits for my body? Yeah, yeah, but I think that's not my main
Mm,
kind of motivation because I do agree on the pushing the limits part, but pushing limits on all different cylinders, the physical performance is one of them. Obviously, there's also other aspect like at work, at relationships and stuff like that. But so is that your primary motivation for doing calisthenics?
for me,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I love the
Wow.
thought of knowing what I am capable of, actually, in any area of life, both mentally and physically. I really like to know what I'm super fascinated about the human consciousness and the human body and physique and physicality. And I think that might be I've not thought about it so much for myself, actually, but I think that might
Uh-huh.
be my motivation. Yeah. I love to see what I'm capable of.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's amazing.
Is there anything you have learned that the things that you learn have in common? Like, do you find that when you've learned, let's say, three different skills, that they had something in common that you can use to learn something else faster?
Yeah, I think the high level concept that works is like progressive overload, right?
Mm,
I think that's maybe obvious to us, but I can kind of explain to the viewers in case you don't know.
mm-hmm,
So basically, when you're trying to learn a particular skill, you train the less intensity version of that particular skill, and then your muscles will eventually adapt and then be able to take the intensity and then the volume and the load, and then once you are able to do that, then you increase the intensity by a little bit, and then eventually you will repeat that. Eventually you will get to the actual skill that you want. So I think uh, progressive overload and also recovery. I think recovery is
mm,
is really important. Being able to uh, properly recover is super important. Especially I think like sleep. I think sleep is pretty underrated. I think uh, sleep is so important in terms of recovery. So because and then I feel it firsthand because when I was not a parent, not a father yet, I can sleep however much I want. I can
mm,
sleep for 9 hours a day. Hey, and then I can like work out super frequent and I feel good about it. But now I've become a father, and then it's hard to sleep that long anymore. And
mm,
then you know it's hard to keep up with the same workout intensity after the reduction of sleep. So I think sleep is super huge. And then also, I'm also a big fan of cold showers. I think this is
yeah,
maybe like a hotly debated topic.
yeah.
Some say it's placebo, and some say it works and preach it. And for me, I believe it works. At least based on my personal experience. I'm still doing it every day, and I've been doing it for a few years now. Um, and then you know it's hard to say for sure how much of a recovery effect that has like now, because I don't want to stop, because if I stop maybe I can kind of have an idea. But I do
Mm,
remember that when I started, I do feel a improvement in terms of recovery times. I was
Yeah.
able to work out more frequently ever during the cold showers. And I think I remember there was even a time where when I was training the back lever and I kind of tweaked something in my sternum, and then after doing this cold shower,
Oh,
I'm actually
really?
good. So, so I'm a believer in cold showers.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that too. And then what else? I guess like, hey, just eat well.
Mm.
I think that also helps because uh, when I was in my 20s, I just kind of eat whatever I want. But now I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna eat stuff with added sugar.
Mm.
I'm not gonna eat anything with like caffeine, and obviously not alcohol. And I think that still helps me to kind of maintain my current physical capability. Um,
And feel
yeah,
young.
that's a long answer. Yeah, but that's
No, it's good. Yeah. I'm a huge
yeah.
believer in sleep and proper nutrition and cold showers as well. Actually, I do cold showers as well. I
Oh,
used,
awesome.
yeah, I used to do cold showers right after I worked out, but a lot of people's like right now I'm training for hypertrophy. So I'm trying to build muscle right now. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of debate on taking cold showers right after your workout that it will stunt muscle growth. I do believe in it for strength training, for sure. I have felt much better recovery from it as well. Whether or not it be placebo, I feel like it's working.
Mhm.
And what like also there's a ton of other benefits from cold showers. I work out at 4-5 p.m. ish. And so when I come home, I used to take a cold shower, and that energized me so much for the last few hours of the night that I needed before I went to bed. So, in that sense, it also helped a lot. Now I've moved my cold showers to right before bed, and I actually found that I sleep better because of it, because my body uh is slowly heating up again after the cold shower, which puts me in um better sleep for whatever reason when I go to bed. So huge believer in cold showers as well.
Interesting. Yeah. So I took my cold shower around like morning or noon ish. I feel like that starts my day well. But then like before bed, I still take hot shower because I feel
Okay.
like if I take cold shower, I might be like super stimulated and excited. It might be hard to sleep for me, but interesting to hear that it actually works well for you.
Yeah, it is funny because as I said, like when I do it right after my workout at 6 p.m. ish, it does give me that last energy I need for the last few hours of the day. But when I do it right before bed and get under the blanket and it slowly heats me up, it makes me drowsy and makes me fall asleep a lot faster. Maybe it makes me fall asleep faster, but I actually have not noticed if my sleep quality itself suffers from it. Not sure about that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, cold showers amazing. Have you found any benefits from the hot showers besides you say you take it before bed or at night?
Yeah, I mean, for hot showers, I think it just makes you sleepy, which is it makes me sleepy at least.
Mm,
So it's good for the thing that you do before bed. Um, you know, other than that, I've been taking hot showers for most of my life before I
mm.
started cold showers. And, it's just kind of a normal routine, right?
Yeah. All right, man. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, so if you go to YouTube and then search for Geek Climber, so GEEK Geek Climber, you'll be able to find me. I'm on Instagram as well, and then the handle is at Geek Climb. So looking forward to seeing you guys checking out my videos.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Everybody should go check him out. You learn a lot from watching other people learn, is what I've found.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
yeah, likewise.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode with Geek Climber. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button. It helps out so much, as you know. It is effortless for you, but means so much to the podcast. Thank you so much. See you next time. Peace.